Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals, and with my special guest Corey, who has been sitting here all night for. I've been recording some videos, so you'll see him in that position for most of them at this point. Um, I wanted to talk about something. Um, I think this is going to be an episode of Jennifer's Insights on fear and fearlessness. Um, I was we earlier. I probably have a link to it somewhere. Last week I did a podcast on unexplained possibilities, and we were kind of talking about the concept of fear and fearlessness at some point in time during the podcast and working with like the demonic divine and stuff like that. And I kind of came to a weird conclusion, and it stuck my mind to the point I couldn't sleep. And I was thinking about it again today. It's like I don't approach things from a place of fear. And sometimes I think that's probably not the healthiest response to have, but what I wanted to point out, especially with like I would say right hand path, but I'm talking about like mainstream religion right hand path, like looking at the state of the world and stuff, and a lot of religions, they're entirely fear based. You're going to hell if you're sinning, do this, do that. It's a place of control and fear, and I think that's something for me that I rebelled against very much because I'm just not afraid of those things. Like I'm not going to let someone instill their fear into me. Um, Now, what do I fear? Like I sat up one night really trying to think what I fear. I'm like, and maybe it's different because I don't have kids. Maybe if you have kids, I'm a worrywart, so I'm sure I would be fearing like literally everything with that. But I'm kind of like, what? Asteroid hits the planet tomorrow. What can I do about it? I'm not going to run around. Or if the asteroid's going to hit the planet, hit Earth, a week from now, what am I going to do? Run around, try to, dig a hole in the ground to survive it? No. My plan there: get high as fuck and fucking fuck until it all fucking goes away. So I just don't have a lot of, there's things I don't like. There's things that are triggering to me based on like trauma responses, but I don't necessarily fear a lot of things. Do I want to get cancer? Not particularly. Am I afraid of getting cancer? Do I fear it? No. Um, I know it's something that it could be possible. I don't have the best diet known to mankind, but when I go over all these things, like some things I'm like, well, that's just icky, but I don't fear it, or that's gross, but I don't fear it. Do I want to be ritually disemboweled? Not particularly, but I don't fear it. And in that, I also, and I'm pretty sure it's probably a trauma response, but I don't really fear working with, number one, I don't fear working with any of the entities that I work with, and I don't fear the badass sorcerers who death curse everyone either. Like I thought about it for a moment, like I'm like, oh, this person could really do some. I'm like, I'm still here, Take your best shot, brother. So I don't fear that. I'm like, yeah, people throwing shit at me, whatever. I've got my stuff that takes care of it. I've got other people I work with that takes care of it. I don't fear it. I don't sit there going, oh no, I hope this person doesn't curse me. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. I usually can tell that whatever, and take care of it. It's done. Now I find when it comes to working with the demonic divine or dark goddesses, I don't approach it from a place of fear. And I thinking back to the topic, I think we were talking about working with Belial. And at the time when I first started working with Belial 3 years ago, it's like so many people were like, "Oh my God, Belial is so hard to work with, so tough, and so scary and whatnot." And I was like, "Oh shit," like, and I found, initially, like I started working with Belial through either Lucifer and Lilith, or Lucifer or Lilith. I'd have to look at my notes from back then. But I didn't find that to be the case. Like, and I remember asking Belial, I was just kind of like, everyone kind of warned me this is gonna be like, and he's like, he said something to me at the time that was really profound. Like, and I think about it now, 3 years past that point. He's like, you're coming to me at an entirely different place. You've got 10 years of like shadow work and self work under your belt already at this point. Most people are coming to me on day one. Um, it's not that I got a pass. Belial can be hard on you at times, and um, really, really help you to, like, for like shadow work and stuff like that, can be really intense. I would say intense, but I don't fear working with Belial, or I don't fear working with Abaddon. I've found them both to be incredibly healing in a lot of ways. Um, oh, did you get the sneezes? Hi, Bubby. Hope you getting up. So it's kind of like when you're like approaching an animal, like if like you're afraid of dogs and you're like, the dog sees that you're, oh, bless you. Corey had a little bit of a cold from after he had his dental surgery. He's a little sneezy. Hi, Bubby. Yeah. It's like when if you're afraid of a dog. Like I remember when I was a child, and my aunt and uncle had this rescue dog. I think that had been abused, and there was one point, I was maybe like 9 or 10 years old or something like that. But I went in the kitchen to get a drink, and like the dog was there, like kind of like I felt like I was cornered, and I think I was just like really, really fearful of it. And the dog like lunged at me and like nipped my leg, but like um I never had an issue with that dog before or after. It was just because I was visibly fearful and showing that fear. And sometimes when you do that, when you're around an animal, your pheromones change, or there's stuff, and you know they're sensing your fear. They might attack you because of that. So I just don't necessarily um, approach my spirit work from a place of fear. And when I look at the world we live in today, and especially and as with some of the videos I did last week, I've been on this weird deep dive of like religious and like new age cults. And so much of it is fear based, especially of the Christo fascist variety. Um, it's the fear of everyone who's different than you. It's the fear of, oh my God, I'm going to hell. It's the fear of, human sexuality. It's the fear of every single thing. And so many religions thrive on that fear. That is why we've had holy wars and inquisitions and the burning times and witch trials, is because it was entirely based on fear. So I'm not saying walk into working with the demonic divine willy nilly or anything, but I'm just saying I can't, for me, approaching it from a place of fear just was not like, it didn't occur to me like that I should be fearing any of this. And I was working, I've been doing a lot of work with Abaddon lately. And even though I think it's questionable, I'm like, Abaddon, why don't I fear anything? This is a little weird. Am I broken? And I think it was Abaddon who was just kind of like, he was like, you've knocked on death's door willingly so many times, begging to be let in. Why would you be afraid? Why would you have fear? I'm like, well, okay then. But yeah, sure. If I'm driving my car and I see a semi barreling towards me out of control, I'm going to have a reaction to that in anything of the fight or flight kind of. I'm going to be like, and like try to get out of the way. I may have a fearful or some type of visceral physiological reaction to it. Am I afraid of getting hit by a semi every time I get in my car? No. Um, So I try not to approach things from a place of fear, because I find that, and I've talked about this in videos that I've done previously about, like, you know, being cursed. If you're sitting there like, oh shit, I pissed this person off. They and their cronies are all gonna be cursing me. They're gonna be death cursing me, and oh my god, you're sitting there paranoid about being cursed all the time. You're kind of gonna curse yourself at that point, or the curse is going to have something to feed on. And a lot of the more cult like members of the left hand path and the occult communities, and stuff like that, feed on that fear. They want you to think that they can death curse you and drop you where you're standing. That keeps you in line. That keeps you buying their bullshit. So to be able to say, hey, no, I don't fear you. I mean, you can try. I personally don't care. I'm good. And there's something for me that is just very grounded and feels peaceful about not fearing things. And I know we live in a horrifically, historically fucked up timeline. There's plenty of things to fear. I just, I can't become a basket case over things that may or may not be. I can't, it's like, does this affect me? Whatever. Um, a lot of things are blown out of proportion, don't get me wrong, but again, we live in a society, politicians and the media feed on fear. How many good, feel good news stories do you see, unless you're watching, like, bullshit entertainment news or something? um it's all fear based. It's all, it's exhausting. And for me, I had to, for my sanity, it's not that I'm uninformed or ill informed. um I do not, unless I have to for any reason, consume a lot of media. I don't watch the news. I'll catch up on things here. I'm like, huh, I heard about this thing that happened. Yeah, all right, let's look into that. Why is the other few weeks ago? I'm like, why is it orange and smell like burnt ass hair outside? Oh, Canada's on fire and sending and smoke cleansing the United States. Thanks, Canada. We could use a good smoke cleansing. We got some bad vibes and mojo going on down here. Um, but I guess what I want to bring to you in this is, and ask the question. I'm like, and there's always, do you approach things like, are you fearful of working with any of these entities? Because sometimes, being autistic, I don't. I'm like, so I was kind of like, did I miss the human upload file on, being afraid of shit? Um, I may have. It's kind of like, I went through like so many scenarios trying to like find out what I was really afraid of. I'm afraid of vomiting. I'm a vomitophobe. So is my brother. I haven't thrown up since I haven't thrown up in 15 years. That's how much I hate throwing up. Yeah, so I don't really have a lot in what I fear. And maybe some of that is just because I have, CPTSD. I've experienced a lot of trauma in my life that, I've been through the scary shit and, made it through the other side. So do your best. It's not to say I'm going to walk blindly into bad situations, and it's not like I'm going to run out of my house, with a, I don't have anything really weapon wise. I'm not going to run out of my house with a ceremonial sword and knock on the door of my asshole neighbor who keeps blasting shitty music on the corner and be like, I am the Highlander, and threaten to, I am, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to run into danger in that because I have common sense. But bless you, buddy. I just choose not to live a life based on fear. And I think that's a huge problem in religions, is that there's so much fear based and so much control and manipulation that happens there. Like when I look back, because I went to Catholic school, it's like I look back to the things I was taught, like, well, thinking about murdering someone is just as bad as murdering someone. You know, look, it is. Because that's kind of like thought control and thought policing, and yeah, get out of my brain. But it's that fear, and when you have that fear constantly instilled upon you, especially as a child, I mean, of course, it's going to have ramifications on you growing up. I think it's just some way somehow I just kind of did my usual ha fear. Um, so there really isn't, like, I mean, I've been straining my brain for like a week now to try to figure out what am I really afraid of. I'm like, well, that's just I don't like it. I'm not particularly fond of that, or I think the inside of like cantaloupes is gross. Like there's some things I'm like I'm not afraid of that. I'm like it's just gross, or like I just don't. It doesn't resonate with me in a way that bounces back a fear response. And it's different from I'm aware of it, so it's not something that's necessarily dissociative in that sense. But I don't feel like I feel like if I approached my spiritual work from a place of fear, I don't I feel like I would have been holding myself back. Anyways, let me know what you think, and don't forget to click like, subscribe, smash the notification bell, and let me know your thoughts on fear and fearlessness. I'm curious.